I just wasn't sold on it, and I felt like this is kind of a waste of the partnership between NXT and TNA. If we're gonna do special cross promotions like this, it's like, why not do the best version of that? Why not give the best possible matches that you could give? Like, it's almost like the main roster. It's the same formula. We could get bigger and better matches. We could get money matches on a regular basis. But for some reason, it seems like it's just being pacified. For some reason, it feel like we're just being, like, it feel like breadcrumbs. And you never really get to the main course. We never get the payoff for having to deal with all of these smaller storylines that never really turn into anything. So with TNA, if we're gonna introduce that dynamic into WWE, I mean, it's almost like this is not even happening. We gotta remember, when Vince McMahon was in control of WWE, this would have never happened. So the fact that it is happening now, I feel like it's a special time, but yet we're not getting the type of excitement that we should be able to get from this. Now, ECW had one night stand once upon a time with WWE. Now, at that time, ECW was basically WWE. But I still love the way that they threw that event together, because that event felt like history. And it was. Because this is what I mean by the moments. ECW One Night Stand was one of the greatest cross-promotion events that they ever put on. And it was just done to perfection, even though ECW was technically WWE. So even with that, you have to give WWE and Vince McMahon a lot of credit, because it still felt like something original. It still felt like ECW was its own component. Every match that they put on was a classic. The main event with John Cena. John Cena's whole feud with Rob Van Dam, which eventually led to a feud with Edge. Everything was executed perfectly. So now we're getting back to 2025, and not only is John Cena's last run falling apart week by week, even when we do something special like introduce TNA into WWE, why isn't that we just can't get the best of the best? That's what this should be about. Anytime you bring another promotion over to WWE, we should be getting the best of the best. We shouldn't be spoon feeding and leaving breadcrumbs. We need to get right to it. And I guess WWE and TNA feel like they're doing that because Joe Henry is TNA's champion. So I get that. But again, it's something about Joe Henry where I feel like all of that is being forced. I feel like the TNA World Heavyweight Championship was forced because of Joe Henry's popularity. Now, I'm not mad at that. Like I say, y'all rock, y'all do y'all thing. But we got to call a spade a spade. We can't have it both ways. If he's going to do that, that's cool, but let's not act like we don't know what's going on. TNA is still in that vulnerable stage right now where they're trying to maintain that momentum that they have, because we all know that they were close to being out of business not too long ago. So we have to keep all of those things in mind and realize the decisions that's being made and why they're being made. So again, Joe Henry is the TNA champion. That's for a reason, because they need a popular champion to try to keep their momentum going up. And them partnering with WWE seems like that's going to give them the boost that they need. But the way that they utilized Joe Henry at WrestleMania against Randy Orton, I thought that was a loss for TNA, me personally. I think I read a report or two where TNA management said that they didn't look at it that way. They thought that it was a win for TNA. And that's cool. I mean, that's their company. So if they feel like it was good, then great. You know what I'm saying? Mission accomplished. As a true fan that just cares about professional wrestling, not a particular promotion, but the overall sport of professional wrestling, I felt like that was a black eye for TNA. Because I get it, it's WrestleMania. So that's not lost on me. You're putting a TNA wrestler on the biggest stage of WrestleMania in WWE. Got it. That's noted. But to what end? The match wasn't even a long match. Like, it wasn't even a competitive match. If you really go back and pay attention to Joe Henry versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania, it was almost like Randy Orton was treating Joe Henry like a little brother. He just little broed him the whole match. He was just swatting off. He wasn't really The punches wasn't affecting Randy Orton. Joe Henry could barely execute any type of offense with Randy Orton. And then the finish of the match itself.
He was able to hit that. It looked like he was getting a standing ovation earlier on. RKO!
Was just pure comedy. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the finish of the match because I didn't catch it at first. And when I went back and watched it again, I couldn't help but to laugh. Like, that shit was funny. Like, it was a great spot that they did in terms of comic relief. But see, that seems to be my entire theme each episode is WWE just play too much. They want to keep playing. Like, everything is fun and games. And that's cool. But it still should be a variety. It's a time and a place for everything. So it should be segments that's playful, and then it should be segments that's more serious. The Joe Henry and Randy Orton segment, it should have had a blend of both because Joe Henry's character is more of a playful character. And maybe that's why I'm not really sold on that character, or maybe just at least to be the world champion. If he's going to be the comic relief, that's cool. But again, this is TNA's introduction to WrestleMania, I believe. I believe that's the first time that a wrestler had been put on the stage like that at WrestleMania against one of the top stars in WWE. So when you do something like that, whoever the TNA star is, he needs to look like a star. Win, lose, or draw. I'm not saying he had to win. He didn't have to get little boy the whole match, meaning treated like a little brother, treated like a young man, treated like a rookie. Y'all go back and watch the tape. This ain't about my opinion. Y'all got eyes. Go see it for yourself. Randy Orton treated Joe Henry like a little brother the entire match. And it was not one point in the match where Joe Henry seemed like a credible threat to Randy Orton. So how doesn't that hurt TNA ultimately? Because this is not just a wrestler on the TNA roster. This is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. So that's supposed to mean that he's the best that company has to offer. Your World Heavyweight Champion is the greatest representation of the company. And WrestleMania is the greatest event of that company. So in this regard, 1 + 1 didn't equal 2. Somebody math was completely off. And they dropped the ball with Joe Henry's character. Like I said, I enjoyed the segment just for entertainment. It was cool. But to show a real serious side for TNA, to give them some real momentum, I thought it fell short. So now TNA has a guy like Mike Santana. And Mike Santana is just getting started. He's been a tag team wrestler pretty much his whole career that I've known him for. And now to see him as a singles competitor, he's already given us an entirely different look. This is a whole new version of Santana. And I love that because now it gives it a mystery factor. Now it leaves the door open to play any type of character because we fully don't know what Mike Santana has to offer. We know what he's capable of, but now he can show us different sides of his personality. The fact that they finally put an NXT superstar in a feud with a good TNA wrestler, now I'm excited. Now I'm finally going to tune in. And again, that's rare. As much as I'm a fan of this sport, it's just certain matches that I just can't get into. It's certain promotions that I just can't follow. And shout out to NXT. We all know what that's about, and we all know what it is. But it's still just difficult to get into certain matches. And not just with NXT, SmackDown, Raw. It's difficult these days to really get invested into these matches. We're pointing that out, and we're trying to get back on the right track. Yo, what's going on with it? I'm Southside Tre. Appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Full Time Digital House. And follow me on Instagram, Southside_Tre.